Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the Mental Toughness and Body Show. On this show, we are going to talk about bridging the gap between professional success and personal fulfillment. There's many people achieve that professional success, but they still don't feel like they're personally fulfilled. So our guest today has helped over 10,000 individuals bridge that gap, and she's going to share her key insights into achieving both success and personal fulfillment. Now, obviously, on this podcast, we've interviewed people from all walks of life, from either celebrities to Olympic gold medalists and billion-dollar empire builders. But today we have coach, life strategist, transformative coach, Nancy Ho. I almost called you Nancy Drew. Nancy Ho, how are you, Nancy?
I'm very well in this hot and sunny place called Singapore at this time as we speak.
Yes, the contrast between your lovely weather and my cold weather here in Melbourne, Australia.
Right.
So thanks for joining us today. I thought
Let-
maybe we could start out with perhaps if you share a little bit about your background and what brings you so passionately to this space here.
All right. My work, I always call it, it's natural. It's naturally, I don't want to, it's kind of passe to go like it's my calling kind of thing. But it's really
Yes.
quite natural because even when I was like a teenager, I always have a knack to kind of tell people, let's not tell people what to do, but it's like, hey, let's look at problem. How do we solve our problems, right? For example, we need to study and we want to play. It's a problem. So how do we solve this problem, right? Something like that. Or as a younger person, we always said we want freedom, but how can we have freedom when we are living under our parents' roof and so on and so forth, right? So this
Yes.
is what I mean by natural that always been in me, and therefore I focus on solutions. So as I grow up, so-called part of my background is in psychology, business psychology. So quite naturally, I moved into the field of training at a time and then into coaching.
Yes.
So I find that the one thing people often has, which should not be the way, is called struggles. And I believe life is not meant to struggle. Meant life is meant to live it out. Sure, we have a fair share of challenges, which is perfectly fine and well. But when it comes to struggling, and therefore you have all kind of panic attack, anxiety, all kind of sickness, so on and so forth, arises from the parasympathetic nervous system. So it doesn't make sense. So just like I said earlier on, I focus on solution. So I went
Yes.
about, finding the root cause of the people. Why do they struggle? Why do they suffer? I've got this saying, pain is inevitable. It's part of growing,
Yes.
but suffering is optional. Pain
Yes.
is inevitable. Suffering is optional.
Yeah. Nice. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at the start of the show here, I mentioned about how people can have a lot of professional success, but then
Right.
they don't feel personally fulfilled. And so I can really relate to this because I spent, like, when I was younger, I didn't have a natural, like, okay, this is my pathway. And from the age of 16, here you have to start making really subject choices that will dictate the career that
Right.
you go on to. And the
Sure.
people that I was around, they seemed to know, yeah, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be this, want to be that. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I didn't seem to be really great at anything. But I mean, I didn't know at the time I was left brain, and numbers and statistics and all that sort of stuff would mean something to me. But I found that my better subjects were around maths, and we did a business subject, and that seemed uh, like the pathway for me. So then I chose those subjects, went on to do a bachelor in business accounting, went and worked for Coopers and Lybrand before it became PwC, showing my age. And I then went on to become a chartered accountant. And so for 19 years, I worked in that corporate environment, working for big brands here in Australia, and using all that experience. And every 4 years or so, I needed to find a new challenge for myself, because it was like, okay, this is good, but I saw myself, I wanted to, get to a six-figure income as kind of as quickly as I could. And I got to there, and then it was like, okay, so I'm here. I'm enjoying the work, but I'm not loving it. And that really disturbed me that I wasn't really loving it. And one of the jobs that I worked on, so my background was external audit to start with at Coopers, and then went to internal audit. And one of the clients that we worked with, I mean, the work that we did saved them in today's dollars, it was about $225 million. It
Well,
saved
okay.
them. And
Mm,
I got no joy out of that. It was like, okay, that's good. I'm glad we found that. But it was like almost a billion-dollar company. It didn't mean anything to
right.
them. And so therefore it didn't mean that much to me. And and so people say now what I do, I'm like 19 years in, and I think, do you know what? I need to have a change. I found that I'd had this affinity with health and wellness, and I thought I can have a greater impact and be more personally fulfilled by helping humans out as opposed to helping corporates out, like corporate beasts. And a little bit like what you said, people say, oh, it's a massive change. Not really, because my roles were always about coaching and were
Right.
always about finding improvements. It's just now I do it in a topic that I find is so fulfilling. So, in the clients that I work with, when I'm coaching them, I see people uh, tend to be doing the things that they really don't like in life. And
Yeah,
so I'm interested to know what your insights are when you start working with somebody. How do you find out that they're not really personally fulfilled, and what are some of the steps that you go about to help them?
I think it first got to do with, how we define success. Unfortunately, people tend to look at success first from the material gain.
Yes,
That's the first thing, right? Which, of course, I've never said money is not important. Of course, it is. The exchange is currency. Uh, Often I say money buy conveniences, money buy choices,
yes,
right? But that's not the only thing about success. But unfortunately, it's been very slanted that way, Like, why do I become a lawyer? Why do you become a doctor? Because they make a lot of money.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the perception when you're a
You know
kid.
what I
Yeah,
mean? Why do I be a singer or actor, actress, whatever? Because they make a lot of money, all right? So because of that very, distorted angle, I'll call it distorted, or maybe one, very fixated way of looking at what success is. So therefore, they sort of compromised. I've got a lot of aspect I work with, right? And they live an aspect life. And then, of course, they have the children to go to the international school, right? Big bills to pay. But because they are expected, they got this big job, so they're not going to give that up. But again, this all or nothing mentality, meaning if I can't give up my big job, otherwise I do not have that sort of lifestyle.
yes,
But that is not true. It's not a zero-sum game. It's not all or nothing.
mm,
All right. So again, people mindset tend to be that way. So I like what you said, right? About impact
mm,
for you, for me. For someone else, it could be something else.
yes,
So I often ask the question, why do you want to do this? If people cannot answer their why, then it's very difficult to be fulfilled. Then it's always, of course, right? Again, because I want a certain lifestyle, or I want to provide for my family, I want
yes.
a good retirement, which all these are good answers, but not the why.
Yes.
Absolutely not the
I
why.
attended a wedding recently, and I was talking to the father of the groom, who I
Mm.
hadn't met before, and he is very senior in one of the biggest brands here in Australia. I won't name it, but if I said the name, people would be like, "Oh, okay." And so very, very high up in that organization. So high six-figure salary, maybe even seven figures. And he was quite envious of what I do.
Sure.
And I don't earn as much as he does, but he was envious because I said to him when he was explaining, I said, I kind of knew the answer, but I said, "Do you love what you do?" He said, "No."
Yeah.
And he's probably around my age, maybe a little bit older,
Mhm.
but I feel that he has established this lifestyle for himself and his wife now that he feels like he can't get
Correct.
out of it. And so
Exactly.
he won't. And so he'll keep spending maybe another 5 years or more being unfulfilled, but bringing in the money to support the lifestyle. It's like, okay, is that really worth it?
But you see, the thing is that all it require is just a mindset shift.
Mm,
Okay. So if someone keep, thinking that way, of course, who's to say he's wrong? All right. He's right. And then he may retire with a lot of money. He may have a lot of wealth and what have it, but then at the expense of something.
yes,
And one of those things that show up at the expense of is health. It's
yes,
kind of crazy. Doesn't matter whether it's Australia, Singapore, US, or UK, or any part of the whole world, right? People worked very hard for their money. They accumulate their wealth, they invest, and what have you. And guess what? Eventually, they give all this money to the doctors.
yeah, yeah. Or their kids because they're dead. Yeah,
Yeah, okay, the kids, but first is to the doctors.
yes,
Not all, but I mean, I exaggerate as all. What I'm trying to say is that a big bulk of it goes to the doctor because they're sick.
yes,
They're sick. And then even, okay, there's healthcare and all that. But what is the point that you talk, the people thought, that they can retire good, but they're actually in bed. They can't
yes,
do things they dream about doing when they retire. And you see that all around the world,
yes,
right? And I refuse to be in that statistics.
yes,
Proudly, I always proclaim my age. I'm 60.
yes,
60 years of age of March this year, right?
yeah,
And at the drop of a hat, I can run 5 kilometers. I can
yes,
50 meters, 20 laps, I do high HIIT 5 mornings in a week,
yeah,
right? And I want to continue doing that if I'm 80 years old.
yes.
And of course, people look at me like, is that possible? I said, why not?
Yeah,
If
of
you
course it is. It's just a
continue
limiting
doing,
belief.
no, not just that. If you continue doing every day, or most days, even at 80, of course you can do it. But when people do not do that, then of course they can't even do it when they are 60, let alone 80, let alone
Yes,
90. Okay,
yes,
that's one. And then the other is the chemical that our brain produces.
yep,
Feel good, good chemical. Feel bad, bad chemical. Simple as that.
yes,
If the brain produces bad chemical, obviously, again, we get sick, we get moody, perhaps get into all kind of mental sickness like dementia, Parkinson,
yep,
stroke, and all what have you. But then somehow the mentality of people is like, oh yeah, it happens to other people, but not me.
yes. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Just put
Right?
your
It
head in
won't
the
be
sand
me. It
until
won't
it
be me.
shows
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. It's strange. It's like it's other people. And I always, the people that I coach, whether one-on-one or in a group, I said, stop being so arrogant or cocky.
Mm,
It can happen to so many people. It can happen to us unless we do something differently. Like I've seen your Instagram and your posting with your very fit, tight board.
thanks,
But
Nancy. Oh,
yeah. So obviously, right, you keep training, you keep doing it, and then your brain produces good chemical because this is a
yep,
natural feel good.
yes,
This is a
absolutely.
natural, a good feeling of achievement because you have to put in the work and you see the results. So it's
Yeah,
not
that's right.
like you show up for work and you get paid highly, and then okay, how much joy. I've got lots of branded handbags. I don't remember what they are sometimes, but the joy stops perhaps after 1 or 2 or 3 times carrying it. But I'm talking about material. Yes, they can give you some joy, but that kind of joy is not lasting.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the joy that you do something for yourself. Wow.
Yeah,
It's just there. It's just like it rocks.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure what I'm talking
I
about.
I get it. I get
Of
it.
course, you do that for yourself.
So say that example that I used, and say they're coming to you for coaching, which
Right.
kind of implies that they want to change.
Sure.
How do you go about trying to get them to make that change? Is it a case of just looking at things differently and saying, well, look, maybe he's got 5 years of where he sees he's got 5 years in that role left, so I'm going to suck it up for 5 years? Or do you find a way for them to say, okay, well, let's look at it a little bit differently, where you're adding the value, the impact that you're having, and perhaps I don't know, add a hobby outside of work or something? Like how would you approach it?
Okay, I'll talk about my approach in a while. But first, the person has to recognize they want to change.
Yes. Yeah, if you don't want to change, it's like the smoker.
Nothing will
If,
happen.
yeah, I'm coming to you to stop smoking, but I don't want to stop, you're not going
Correct.
to.
Correct. It's not going to happen. Exactly.
Yeah.
So usually, the people that come to me, they have some level of pain.
Yes.
Whether a pain is about void, the pain is where, there's some past traumas that is unresolved, or whether their relationship problem is at stake, right? I just had somebody that contacted me yesterday, right? I want to read this word for word because it really reflects a lot of people, though. I don't think it's unique to him. All right. He literally said like, what was it that? I need to seek therapy because every areas of my life is not working.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he is successful because it's referred to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I talked to you on the phone, I said, okay, elaborate. And he said, oh, relationship, his health,
Yeah.
even relationship with his colleagues, stuff like that doesn't seem to be working. So there must be a level of pain first.
Yes.
So when there's a level of pain, so what I do is I deep dive to find out or discover the root cause. There must be a reason. Nothing happens because it happens,
Yes.
right? For sure, I never buy in that, oh, when someone become older, they become like this. I said, nonsense. If that is true, I'll cut loss by
Yes.
65. Well, I'm
Yes.
still good. You know what I mean? Well, I'm still good. Otherwise, the rest of my two, I like to believe I will live to at least 85. Why I
Yes.
do that? Because my mom is 92 and she's still alive. My grandmother passed on at 103.
Wow.
And in my family tree, no one else dropped dead.
Yeah. You're settling for 85. You should aim for 110.
maybe. But then I'll just put it average, okay? 85, okay, 90, whatever. So in that case, how I'm going to live if the rest of my life is struggling and suffering and all that? I don't want that. So we're going to find out the root cause. So from the root cause, which usually is from childhood.
That was my next question. I was going to say, how often do you find that it relates to something way back in their childhood?
Right. And it doesn't mean that a person has to come from a bad childhood, a violent
No.
childhood. No, not necessarily. Just somewhere in the subconscious level.
Yep.
And that's a deep work that I do,
Yep.
subconscious. Okay. That something affected them. They may or may not even know they're being affected.
Yes.
And hence why fear, why anxiety, why
Yeah.
imposter syndrome, all of that comes on.
Yeah.
So after I recognize what's the root cause, then I would have a strategy, okay, to go about overcoming it.
Yes.
And there'll be strategy, how you're going to reprogram as like I said, the mindset shift. Not necessarily to live life completely different, but really, looking at it in a different pair of lens,
Yes.
you know, looking at things in a wider perspective. And most important, to know your why.
Yeah. I agree.
Why you do what you do. So
Yeah.
if the why is not a strong why, yes, you can have professional success, but fulfillment will be questionable.
Yes.
Yeah. So usually this is how I go about doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love that. You find that you're pretty much a psychologist on that journey with the person, don't you, to try and
Correct.
uncover what's going on.
Yeah. And I'm also their soundboard. Like I have
Mm.
C-suites that come to me. All right. And of course, they run a company, they're people and all that, I've got quite a good number of startups. Yeah. And of course, they know what they know what to do for their business. All right. But then this relationship, and especially, managing younger generation, there will always forever be a generation gap. Always. Nothing negative about it. All right. It's just
Yes.
really how you manage it. So I will actually sit and listen. Okay. Listen. And I actually look for the gap.
Yes.
Okay. They may not even realize it. Then it is that gap that again, right? We deep dive and then look for the strategy. Then we have a process. We work through it. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. Somebody asked me, oh, not that long ago, actually. I was at an event and um, they said, oh, you're hungry, aren't you? And I looked at my watch and I said, well, yeah, it's getting around that sort of time. It was like 6 o'clock, almost
Okay.
6 o'clock. He said, no, 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 no. He said, I mean, you're hungry. He said, oh, I said, yeah. He said, where does that, because I was, feverishly typing notes and stuff and all day. And he was kind of creepily just sitting there watching me. And he said, where does that come from? And I said, well, do you know what? I said, it probably comes from my childhood. I was bullied, and there was one person in my life that said I'd never amount to anything, and that I was no good. I was bad at everything, and that person was me.
Mm,
I used to have that communication with myself until I got to that stage where it took decades, probably 2 decades, for me to realize that, hey, what are you doing? You're never going to achieve anything if you're beating yourself down every time you've got a bit of a win or something.
sure.
And so then I had to work every day for like 3 years to
Mm,
kind of beat that out of me mentally.
right.
So that I am who I am now, but it all came from my childhood.
Yeah. So your narrative as a child did not work.
Yeah, that's right.
The whole narrative.
I was
So
very unhappy as a
correct,
child.
correct. So that's why you needed that mindset shift to create a new narratives. So something that one needs to do because what okay, a simple word to replace narrative, the story we tell ourselves,
Yes,
right? It's often the story we tell ourselves or the story we buy from someone else. Why we are not good enough because we are not tall enough, we are not sexy enough, we don't have this or we lack of that. The sort of
yes,
thing. And unfortunately, sometimes it came from school.
yes,
The teachers, they don't mean bad, but then the approach may not come out right for some kids as they're growing.
yes,
Yeah, so
yeah,
this is so the other thing that I look into is what are their stories, what are their narratives.
mm,
So again, I listen to narratives and will stop them. I said, wait, I'm very factual.
yeah,
I don't use logic. Um, I said logic is like your logic against my logic or my logic against your logic. I'm not talking being emotional, right? But when you talk about facts, that you can't debate that,
yes,
right? Nobody can debate facts. Of course, if they want to, they can, but it's like silly, right?
yes,
So we look at facts, and then from these facts that then go like, yeah, that's right. If I continue down this path factually, yeah, I'm going to be sick, or I'm going to, go to a divorce and this or that, depending on
yeah, the situation. Yeah,
situation. Yeah, all
yeah.
that. Mm-hmm.
You've mentioned a couple of times someone's why, and it's a conversation I often have with people that they're just stuck.
Yeah.
What would be some tips that you would recommend for people to, because they say, oh, yeah, my why, and they think about it. And I say to people, you won't just think about it. I said, it's a
Correct.
detailed process.
Correct.
And I said, I have 42 reasons why I do what I do. And there's
Mm,
no way I could come up with them in my head. I needed to write them down. And then one led to the next, to the next, to the next. And
mm-hmm.
I say, normally your why makes you cry, because it's really deep, deep, deep in the soles of your shoes, kind of thing. So,
All right.
what's a strategy that you suggest for people to dig into that?
Okay. First thing is there are a few steps. First, what are your values?
Values.
Values,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, first, I look at the values. What's really so important to you in your core?
Yes.
All right. So first, values, then purpose. How do you
Hmm.
want to show up in this life? Or there's something that I do that's not very cool. And I said, imagine. Okay, and I'll use myself. I said, imagine now I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm in my coffin. So no replay. I'm
Yeah.
dead. And
Yeah. Looking back.
not looking back, somebody is there doing neurology, talking about you, talking about your life, what
Yeah.
you've been through. So that got to be facts, right? Because they are saying something, whatever I've done. Okay.
Yes.
So I said, what would you like to hear?
Mm.
This is not out of ego, because this is how you have lived your life,
Yes.
right? In your eulogy, this is how you lived your life. So therefore, that helps them to think about their purpose.
Yes.
How do you want to show up in this world? That's what I meant. So
Yeah,
with
nice.
value, purpose, then what inverted comma activities do you want to engage in so that you can, play out your values and your purpose?
Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm. Right? So let's example, there are singers and there are singers, but we know there are singers they're passionate what they do because this is their why.
Yes.
There are singers that sing because they want to make the money.
Yes.
Show up very differently.
Mm.
Attitude, even as a person, you see them different, right? Just a different person. So how do you want to show up?
Yes.
So unfortunately, people that just want for the power and the money, we know what kind of state they'll end up in the end,
Yes.
right? Compared to somebody that is the passion, as I mentioned, about values and purpose and all that, okay, will live an awesome life as like, their well-being is not being compromised. Every aspects of their life, okay, it's just healthy. And I'm not talking about healthy as just health alone, but people really look up to such a person.
Yes.
And they're, of course, usually humble. They don't
Yes.
show off. There's no big fat ego about them. Yeah.
Yes.
So these are steps that I'll go through. Values, purpose, and then what activities are engaged to display or to act out the values and the purpose.
Yeah, great. When it comes to relationships, what role do you think that plays in, well, it can work both ways, right? The toxic relationships or really positive, but how important is that?
So you mean relationship as intimate relationship as the
Well, it could all kinds of relationships, I suppose. I say relationships, but yes, it could be your intimate relationship. It could be, well, there's the relationship with yourself, but
sure,
your family relationships,
sure.
your business colleague relationships, partnerships, etc.
Sure. But you see, if you are very clear, crystal clear about how you want to show up in this world, relationship with yourself or with others or intimate, again, it shouldn't be a problem at all because this is how you do things.
Mm.
This is how you go about in your life. Because it's
But
coming from values, it's coming from purpose, it's coming from, the reason why you live.
But again, do you find that yes, at the professional level, they're managing everything well, they're doing very well, but then because they're not personally fulfilled, they're saying, I don't know, putting up with the toxic relationship, putting up with poor treatment from because family is the worst in terms
It
of
can
this,
be.
in
Yes.
terms of how it can
Right,
affect you.
right.
So do you find that there are people that they're just really not prepared to make those big calls with making changes?
It's tough. It's
Yeah,
tough. Again, they have to look at their life factually. So I have just this lady, okay, which is pretty interesting, very, very interesting. Two children from two partners, never been married. Okay.
yep,
And she's also having a third relationship now. Okay. No children for this third one, but yet the kid, the eldest is about a teenager. Okay. And she's only in like early 40s. Okay. She's only
right,
in early 40s, but two partners are there. So, and the second partner, okay, they're still kind of living in the same house, right? But they have separate life. Successful, very successful. Of course, again, she came to me because, she's not fulfilled, she feels bad and she's stressed and all that. So she said, I'm not dealing with my problems because I don't want my younger kid, which is the daughter, to go through what the elders have gone through because she left the first partner,
right.
right? And I don't want to leave my present relationship because my present relationship is helping me to tutor my son. I say, interesting. So everything about your life, think about it, sit back. And I'm very direct.
Yeah,
All right, I'm very direct. I said, okay, sit back, think about it factually. Your life is all about conditions. And she never knew that.
mm,
She never knew that. So I said, your life is all about conditions. And let me tell you, condition change.
yeah,
And then what happened when condition change? Right? So one thing I do is to make them realize factually what they imagine the story in their head, okay, are often pretty messed up
Yes.
or tangled up. There's no so-called no truth about it except what they want to make up those stories to be.
Yes.
So she is forever tired, exhausted every
Yeah.
day. Because how can she, but be like energetic, lively and all that. And then when she looks at me and say, my God, no way I'll look like you when I'm 60. I say, of course not. Right? So again, I brought her back down to earth, right? Forget about all this condition for a moment. Sure, I know you've got a teenager son, a 4.5-year-old daughter. Okay, it's important. It's your responsibility to bring them up good. Okay, all this, sure, I get it. But I said, do you seriously think that they do not know that your
Yeah.
life is a bit messed up?
Yeah. Kids are very smart.
Correct. Do you think they think that that's because you live in this nice big condo and blah 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 and everything is good? Right? So I said, you have a choice. Continue your life like that with conditions, and the next come another condition, next come another condition, or you want to reset your life and live it properly.
Yes.
In any case, your children, knows what's going on,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
If you reset, you actually help them to realize or even to learn that we can always make different choices for something better
Yeah.
than to be stuck. So too often, the mindset of people is that they have this stuck mindset,
Mm.
right? They feel trapped. I've written my first book I've written is called Love Reignited. It's actually okay, your relationship rescue handbook to stop conflicts. All right, in 5 simple steps.
Yeah. Nice.
Yes, this is about conflict. And the conflict often is how we think,
Yeah. For sure. I
you
spent
know?
2 decades trying to unravel it all for myself.
Yeah, right. It's how we think. And then, like this lady, I said, the condition is how she thinks. So after a number of sessions, sitting through with her and all that, right? Now she says, okay, I have the courage now first to break off with the present relationship, which
Yeah.
is controlling her.
Yeah.
So I said, this present relationship called tutor the son. I said, you mean to say you cannot find a tutor?
Yeah. You don't have to you don't have to be sleeping with them to teach your child.
Exactly. Can you imagine people can be stuck that way?
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And she almost like, yes, I can. And then I said, what is your problem? So my style is, you can tell by now, is very direct, but direct as I'm not rude or I know my intention is positive for them,
Yes.
but if I don't do that, they don't wake up, they don't realize. And so long a person do not realize, they would never change.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Never.
It's great advice, Nancy. I want to get to know you a little bit more. Tell us, what do you think your superpower is?
My superpower, first, my truthfulness.
Mm-hmm.
That's my number one value.
Yeah.
Truthfulness. Even I don't know where I got it, as a child, always been this way. Very truthful. I would go up to a teacher if I think it's wrong. Yeah, I'll go up to my mom. I said, this is not the way, I get it, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I can be, mischievous, but I always been very truthful. And because I'm truthful, therefore I don't live in any kind of fear, any kind of like worries, the what if, people judging me. I said, sure, if it's my bad, correction.
Yes.
Absolutely. Right? But if it's an opinion, which there will always be an opinion, so be it.
Yeah. Nice.
So be it.
What would you say is your kryptonite then? What's your weakness?
Okay, I'll tell my weakness in a while. So the other one value is love.
Okay.
So love, I'm not talking about, the intimate relationship love. I'm talking this positive energy love. So
Yeah.
everything that I do is coming from a very positive space.
Yeah.
What is my weaknesses? Okay, my weaknesses is I am
And it
a
can't be chocolate.
no, I know a bit intolerant for people that do not want to take charge of their life.
Yeah.
Uh, that because they don't take charge of their life, therefore, of course, they do not show up with results.
Yes.
I just had somebody this morning, I mean, noontime, and she's really fat. And she lost some weight going through the program with me.
Mm-hmm.
And she went back for a holiday. She doesn't live in Singapore. She works in Singapore. She doesn't live. She's not Singaporean. And then she came back right after a long break, longer than is necessary. So she came this morning, and then she became really fat, fatter than when she first came.
Right.
Oh, I couldn't stand it. I mean, I'm very result orientated, very result driven.
Yes.
I know it's a lot of effort, a lot of work, to work on oneself, to be better, to lose weight and eat healthy and all that. But why do you mess up all over again? And all just because she had this strange way of thinking about, oh, I want my, okay, there was some problem with the family. And she says, why do I do all this when my dad does not appreciate me? And I'm working so hard. I'm working to be successful so that he can be proud of me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's my weakness. So I just blew up on her.
Yeah.
That's my biggest weakness. But it also become my strength for those people that really take it well as they know I meant well.
Yeah. It's coming from that place of love. Yeah.
Correct, correct. I meant well. I mean, I could just sit there like, all right, try harder.
Yeah,
It's
that's
okay.
right. Yeah. Oh, well, let's see how you go next week.
I won't. I won't. So even after that, I said, okay, I think I said enough. I
Yeah.
just went, I think I said enough. The rest now, the ball is in your court,
Yes.
right? I'll see you because she's doing a group coaching thing on speaking with me. I said, okay, I'll see you on Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Right. I don't go on and on. So intolerance for people not showing up what they want.
Yeah.
I mean, fine, if people said, oh, I'm just happy being like broken out. I'm just happy being like, amount to nothing. Fine, if that's good with you, who's to say
Yeah.
anything that is wrong, right? It's okay. It's okay. But that's not what you want.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the greatest piece of advice you've ever received?
Advised. Uh, I like to believe is just be you, do you. Be you,
Okay.
do you. Yeah. Which is very important. And I love that. And I got that from a very young age, maybe at 16 or something like that. When at 16, you kind of search, who am I? What am I going to do? All that. And first, of course, was like, you need to have clarity. Got to know who you are. You don't sell yourself for something, right?
Hmm.
Be truthful and all that's all this all came in. And yeah, be you, do you. But
Yeah,
too many
nice.
people want to be someone else, the wannabe.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you know?
I want to go a bit dark. What's a failure, your greatest failure that you say, and what would you
Oh,
say you learned from that?
my failure. When I make the biggest mistake in my life, and hence a failure, when I'm overly positive.
Okay.
Yes. When a person, or me, forget about other people, myself, okay, when I'm overly positive, I get so like excited. Then it's
Yeah.
like a horse wearing blinkers, right? And I just overlook many things. Crash. But
Yeah,
I
because
don't
you only see the good and you're not
correct.
more aware of what the risks are.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. So I become like, the blind spots I can't see and so on and so forth. Yeah. So I had lost a lot of money before because I was overly positive doing something.
Yes.
Oh, well, it is great. But then again, why didn't I see it? And I think it happens to a lot of people too. It's
Yeah.
after the fact, it's like, why didn't I see it?
Yes. Yes.
It can be the most obvious thing, and we still do not see it.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah. Just just a couple more questions, Nancy.
Yeah.
This has been really fantastic. In the end, how important would you say legacy is to you, and how would you like to be remembered?
Good question. Legacy for me is, of course, leaving something behind. Okay, I call it the footprints, but it's not to be remembered as Nancy Ho. I'm a bit crazy. Um, I told my family, right? I said, when I'm done, I'm gone, right? Just don't remember me. Don't,
But
don't,
but
don't
remember
remember
what?
me. No, don't
Remember,
remember me. No, don't need to remember me. Okay, that means
yeah,
like I ever existed in your life. Forget about it. Wipe that out. Okay, if you can wipe that out. What I want you to do is first, of course, the time we spend together and the lessons, if there are any, that you have learned from me,
yes,
or the things that you have done together that shape you, mold you.
yes,
So it's never about me. This is what I mean. Forget about me. Don't think, don't remember me. It's never
yes,
about me. So my legacy, my footprint is not about me. It's about other people, how they have become better,
yeah,
stronger, all of that, you know?
yeah.
So,
Love that.
so when I'm in heaven, I say, oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what I want. Yeah. I don't get into that personal fame.
Yes, yes, yes. There's got to be monuments of you all around the world. Nancy,
Um,
the Nancy Ho statue. Nice.
I don't
Uh,
go. I don't do that. Yeah.
yeah, fantastic. Nancy, you've added so much value here today. It's been really great. I
Thank
did want
you.
to ask you if people, I will put it in the description below here, but if people want to get in touch with you and use you as their coach, what is the best way for them to do that?
You can go to LinkedIn and look for me, Nancy Ho. All right, and or my the website is easy to remember. NancyHo.net. Sorry,
You
Nancy.
almost forgot.
Okay. No, I want to give my email address. That's why I want. Yeah, at no, not at. Okay, NancyHo.net. That's
Yeah,
easy.
terrific. Well,
Yes.
Nancy, this has been truly remarkable. I think, really, I mean, you're very humble in what it is that you do. You're incredibly successful in what you do as a coach, the thousands of people that you've been able to help around the world. It's truly remarkable. And I think people are going to have to replay because the strategies that you've given here for uncovering your why and working out what's going on for you and whether you do need your help. I think you need to go back and have a listen, everybody, so that you can hear those points again. So thank you so much, Nancy. I'm going to give you the last word, and then we will finish. So what would you like to say to everybody as we close out this interview?
You got to be clear about what is truly important for you. Yeah, what is truly, truly important for you, right? And not just go by societal belief or the shiny object out there. Now, what is here? What is deep down?
Yeah, beautiful.
Right.
That's great. Great
Thank you.
advice. Thank you, Nancy. It's been a
Thank you,
pleasure.
Rob. Thank you very much. Cheers.